All right, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. So it looks like we could be having a bit of an issue with the sport of boxing. The NBA season was canceled. The whole bunch of big events, concerts, huge concerts are getting canceled. And there's a significant chance that that might start happening in the sport of boxing. But let's talk about that and talk specifically about the fights that are in jeopardy because of this in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. All right, man. So as you know, boxers are humans, right? The sport of boxing fans are humans. And there are certain things that take place in the world that that will affect everybody. And if it affects everybody, then it's going to affect boxing. And I think that boxing fans probably need to get their head around that and prepare for a drought in boxing matches. Okay, drought in boxing matches. And because this is not like the situation with the NBA, where the NBA has huge television contracts and there's a way that you could do it without the crowd, right? The NCAA, there's a way you can do it without the crowd and still make money. Without the crowd in boxing, people are going to be taking L's. People are going to be taking L's. So as you know, if you don't know already, the NBA canceled their season because of something that's going around, and people are calling it a pandemic. And you know, by all accounts, it is, man. Stuff is popping up in New York. Stuff is popping up in LA. You have basketball players that have positive tests for the issue. So they started, pulling that stuff off. More than likely, the government is going to issue, even though they have not already issued it, they're more than likely going to issue a national emergency, which is very convenient for the election cycle, by the way. But, as far as trying to get a certain dude out, very, very convenient for that. But very, very inconvenient for people's health, and very, very, very inconvenient for people's money as it relates to the sport of boxing. So you can look at so far, what we know is, though, that it hasn't affected boxing yet. And what the ban on travel to the United States has been, it's Europe, except for, I do believe the UK has been, for the moment, the UK is not under that ban, so they can come forward. But listen, you look at the fights that are going to take place that are coming up in the next couple of months. Man, this is a big hit to the pocket of boxers. This is a big hit to the pocket of the promotional companies. And it is, quite honestly, man, like for DAZN, it would be a very big strike to them, whatever momentum they have as far as their subscribers and things. It could act for DAZN, it could be really, really, really bad, man. So look at the fights that are coming up. You've got Dubois, Dana Dubois and Joe Joyce, right? So those are two UK fights. You have Jamal James and Delorme. You have out of Japan, you have Inoue and Casimir. You have Josh Taylor versus Hong Song, Jose Ramirez versus Postal. You have Obali versus, I think Obali might be fighting Donaire. Isn't that right? For like the his 118-pound title, or maybe he's not fighting Donaire, but it's Obali is fighting somebody. Then you have Usyk Chisora. You got you got Joshua versus Pulev. The Dubois fight. And then you have the May date, because this is now only 6 weeks out from May, for the Canelo Alvarez, whoever it is Canelo Alvarez is fighting. But say, for example, for DAZN, if you have to cancel you have to cancel an Anthony Joshua Pulev, you have to cancel the Anthony Joshua Pulev fight, you have to cancel a Canelo Alvarez versus whoever fight, they might lose a significant amount of their subscribers. Because when you have the way that DAZN does business is, right, you have a monthly membership fee, a subscription fee. If there's not anything on that month that you want to see, you might cancel it for the guys that are going month to month, right? Or if you know that fights for the next 4 or 5 months, 4 or 5 months might be off, then, and you are month to month, you're definitely going to get rid of that. So for example, for me, if I see that these guys are getting canceled, I think Dubois Joyce, I don't think that's going to be on DAZN. I think they might show that's probably going to be on BT. So I don't have a subscription to BT, but Inoue versus Kashmir, that's probably more than likely going to be on ESPN. I think that's going to be on ESPN or ESPN Plus, but I'm not going to get rid of ESPN. But Josh Taylor, Usyk Chisora, Joseph Parker Pulev, and Canelo or whatever, dude, I'm getting rid of those. I'm getting rid of DAZN because those fights aren't going to happen, man. Now, if that does happen, then you have a situation again where a whole lot of people are going to get hurt because these fights, even though these are the bigger fights, and if they get rescheduled, they're going to get rescheduled for the second half of the year. And now fights that were supposed to be set in the second half of the year, now we're going up against tougher fights, or these fights could wind up going up against matchups from PBC fights, the fights that aren't set yet, that could be very difficult, to compete against. So for example, you have, say that this particular issue goes on from March until April, May, June. Just so say it's 3 months, right? Say, this issue goes on strong for like 3 months. We'd expect it to be shorter than that, but say it goes on for 3 months. Then now you're walking up against Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury's rematch, which has to be considered it's the biggest fight in boxing this year. That's going to remain for the next year. It's bigger than a Canelo Alvarez Gennady Golovkin trilogy because there's a lot of, number one, it's the heavyweights, and there's a lot of excitement around the second fight, a lot of controversy now around the second fight. So that is going to impact what those guys, what Canelo Alvarez is going to do. This is just it's a real scary situation for boxing, man. It's a real scary situation for sports and in the economy, period, man. Like there's going to be if you cut off travel, right? Because I was listening to what the person that runs the executive branch of our country said, and what is said about his position on it. And he's like, they don't want to call an emergency because of the effect that it could have on Wall Street, the effects that it could have on travel and tourism. Well, look, man, that affects everybody. You know what I mean? That affects everybody. That really does have huge ripple effects through the economy, man. And so it could affect the amount of money people, when you do have fights, it could affect the amount of people that are actually going to go to the fight because they might not be able to afford, they might not have the discretionary income to go to the fight. You know what I mean? You're going to have a lot of stuff that's just going to have to be, if you're not working online and doing things online, or, where you can, if you have, but actually it doesn't even matter, because everything that everybody does is dependent upon each other in the system that we live in. If one market has an issue, right? If, say, the housing has an issue, if there's an issue with the housing market, and then people are losing money on housing, that's going to affect the automotive industry because people might not be able to buy them. Because they don't have the money because of the decreased value of their property or the money they're losing on their property. Now they can't go buy cars, right? And then if they can't buy cars, that affects the auto industry. So now you have the housing industry and the auto industry in an issue, with financial issues, and that will go to the travel industry because they won't spend money. They can't spend money on that. And then so their revenue goes down, and it just winds up being that's when you see that slump. So boxing exists within that context. And it just seems to me, man, that's for the year coming up, that this could really be a whammy, man, on people. And it could very much affect, obviously the people that are bigger and have more financial backing and that are stronger, have a better ability to overcome issues like this. So if you have an ESPN is a big network that supports boxing, right? But you know, I can't recall who their owner, you know, who their parent company is and all of that stuff. But they're a very large company. They have the wherewithal to survive for 5 and 6 months of their thing being off. I wonder about, and even like Showtime, because Showtime, they might cancel a couple events, but I mean, their major supporters and the people that are behind them are really watching movies, right? It's not primarily boxing. The issue with DAZN is, though, the DAZN is primarily boxing in the United States, at least, right? In sports competitions. So if they are airing, if they're airing NBA replays in China, you know, that's going to go down. It's just a real ugly situation, and I certainly hope that's not the case, man. As much as we, you know, nag about DAZN or I nag about DAZN, I nag about ESPN fights too. I don't really want to see the fighters suffer or see, you know, the boxing industry as a whole suffer because of something that's outside of its control. But at the same time, man, I think that it's realistic to expect and prepare for the fact that it might. So anyway, that's my brainstorm on that issue. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.